Hello and welcome to China View on CNC World. I'm Ni Hanlin in Beijing. First up, the World Bank's managing director said in an exclusive interview that the slowing of China's economic growth in the third quarter is not a sign of weakening. She argues that the slowdown is actually a result of China's changing economic growth model. China View has more.
Indra Wadi displayed confidence in China's economy on Wednesday at the APEC 2014 finance ministers meeting. However, she described the state of the global economy in 2014 as disappointing. She also offered an explanation as to why China's economic growth has recently slowed.
This is what you call it the new normal, meaning that the changing of the level of growth should not be interpreted a weakening, but more on redesigning the growth model to be more inclusive and based on more domestic demand, which is sustainable. That requires a lot of reform within the China.
China's GDP growth in the July-September period registered 7.3%, marking the slowest quarterly growth since the first quarter of 2009.
The decision by the leaders in China to change their growth model, which is reliance more on investment to become more on productivity and consumption, will definitely, in a very short run, will weaken their growth performance.
Indra Wadi called for deepened reform in China to face the slowdown challenge, citing the example of developed countries in Europe and other emerging markets like Brazil.
Many of the emerging countries as well as advanced countries actually need to deepen and actually accelerate the reform, because you can no longer depend on the macro policy as a stimulus for your growth.
She added that ongoing land ownership reforms and greater empowerment of local governments in terms of financing will be critical for China's growth in the coming years.
The area of land reform, which is related to the use of the rural land as well as the agricultural land, and especially strengthening the collective property right or ownership, is going to be very critical in not only making sure that the use of land is going to be shared in terms of the benefit to the people, but also in terms of designing the urbanization in a much more sustainable way. I think other area which is on the local government borrowing, that is a very important critical step, which is going to provide more ability of the local government to be able to have a source of financing which is sustainable, not overly reliant on the selling of the land that is becoming unsustainable.